What is going on, everybody? Blazing here. Welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we are talking Demonspawn Faction Wars, probably one of the easier ones, and that's because we've gotten two really good free champions out of this, which happens to be Carnage and Lamasu, two of the two strongest champions in the game. So they make this faction quite easy. Now, we're going to go ahead, we're going to break down everything you need to know about these stages, any watchouts, callouts, anything like that, and some of the things that I learned climbing from stage 1 all the way to 21. All right, so stage 1 is actually probably the most easiest one, is place 10 HP burn debuffs. Here's the thing, if you have Drexstar from the shop, from the 3v3 shop, you're going to get this trial done pretty easy. Honestly, he could probably solo most of this if you bring in like another CC champion or whatever. But I will say the champions here are very squishy, so don't build him as a nuker. Have him as your target. Now you can bring champions in like Achak or Gorlos. Those are pretty good. And then we do get another free-to-play champion, Akoth from Doom Tower, right? So stage 1, pretty easy. Just get the HP burns off. Try not to nuke him, and you should be fine to get this done. All right, as for stage 2, we got to place 10 provokes. Now here, we're kind of limited on the champions that we have. The call out here is going to be Umbral Enchantress, right? You do have Drexstar that can come in as well. Thrashin has it on the A1. And then I do want to say here, we've got a uncommon champion, Picker. At a level 50, can come in, attacks all enemies, has a 25% chance, books up to 35, of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. Granted, it is a 5-turn cooldown, but if you don't have anybody, he can do it. Again, just make sure that you don't nuke the adds to Oblivion, as they are fairly squishy for the earlier stages, and then just, cycle A1s until you get this completed all the way up to round 2. Try not to leave it for round 3. All right, so stage 3, we got to place 20 plus poisons. This one's a little more challenging, as most of these champions are either doing it on their passive or their A1s. Ideally here, if you have a Kymar, you're going to be all set. Now, we do have a Petrifia Rockroot, who does it. I believe it's on her A3 here, attacks 3 times at random, has a 25% chance of placing a 25% poison sensitivity, and then also has a 40% chance to place a poison debuff for 2 turns, right? If all hits land on the same target, also places a poison debuff for 2 turns. It's a 40% chance. It is very situational. You have Aranus that can do it on her A1, attacks 1 enemy, has a 90% chance, books up to 100 of placing a debuff, poison debuff for 2 turns. So she's probably going to be your go-to. You can use her as a level 50. You do have Utakata here, but she is more situational. They have that crit on the target with Hex. And then again, Kymar does it on his A1. If you have him, probably better off trying to use him and Infernal Baron Araness. It's going to be probably the easiest way to get this done. The one thing I do really want to mention here is you have to take down the supports as quickly as possible. Champions like Dudan and Elva, because they will cleanse those, they will put the block debuffs up, and it makes the run last a lot longer. So bring in one really solid nuker, and then as many of those other champions to be able to get this done, right? Ideally, when I did this with 3 poison champions. I used 2 Kymars, 1 good support, and then a nuker, right? Elva was my kill priority every single time, then Dudan. All right, stage 4. This has to be one of the worst stages possible. They need to die while a bomb explodes, right? It's not while under bombs, they have to die to a bomb. So bringing champions in like a Lord Shazar, bringing champions in like our Soul Drinker. And then if you're really, really desperate, you can bring in Lemur, right? Attacks 1 enemy, has a 60% chance of placing a bomb that detonates after 3 turns. It is tough to do this stage. Luckily, there's not a lot of cleansers. If any, I think it's just Kaja that is a cleanser, but it is such a pain in the rear end that they have to die to the bombs, not just under bombs. So this needs to be explained a little bit more in the description here, Plarium. All right, stage 5, another fun one. It is place 10 stun debuffs. Here's what I'm going to tell you for this. Don't even bother looking at champions. Just build people in stun sets. Get 2-3 decent stun sets. Go through, try to get as many stuns as you can. Try to get it done by wave 2. Don't wait for wave 3. It is too much RNG. Now, you do have champions like Adudan the Rudic that can come in and do this on his A1, right? Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. Other than that, he's good to keep you alive, but you're not really going to do much. And then you can bring in Magnar on the A2, attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on enemies without HP burn. Has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn if enemies are under an HP burn. So you can pair him with an HP burn and try to get that done. Honestly, for me, it was just easier to put in, 2 Kymars with AoEs on the A1s and just try to use as many stun sets as possible. All right, as for stage 6, I know you're going to hate this, but the easiest champion to do this with is Diabolist. She comes in on the A3, fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 15%. It counts both for you and for them. One of the simplest ways to do it, obviously, if you have Kymar, that can definitely work as well too. Lamausu can do that as well. You can use a really strong champion, Achek the Wandaran, right? Because of the turn meter, he'll be able to, if he lands and he freezes, get some turn meter. So this one's fairly simple. Just, if you really have to, just use the Diabolist and just get it done. It's really simple, really easy. Build her in like Stone Skin. If you can have her go fast, bring a solid revive her every single time that she dies. At the end of this, you will go up against a Torment. So keep that in mind. Try not to get yourself CC'd. Bring in some sort of block debuffs or cleanse and take him down as priority kill target 1. All right, stage 7. This boss is fairly simple. It's just tank and spank. It's going to give you a lot of debuffs, so make sure you bring in some protected block debuffs. Cleansers are going to be really helpful here. I did use my Lamausu here and my Carnage. Carnage just came in and destroyed the boss. You got 100 turns. Probably one of the better nukers to use for this. I brought in my Duchess with a protection set. Other champions you could use, basically anything you have at your disposal. Anything that has a 6-star Crushing Rend to take down those ads is going to be very powerful. She does bring a remove all debuffs, so she will strip. Just make sure that you try to bring the protected buffs as much as possible. She is going to land HP burns and poison debuffs, so the block debuffs is crucial here, or a really strong cleanser. Other than that, this boss shouldn't be too difficult if you have your champions built properly. All right, moving on to stage 8. Placing 15 HP burns. Again, same thing here. We bring in either Gorlos, Achak, Akoth. We bring in our boy Drexstar Blood Twin. I will say be careful on wave 3, because if you try to CC the Supreme Gaelic here, he is going to nuke your team to oblivion. So try to be mindful of that. That said, pretty easy. Strong support, and then a good nuker along with 2 champions or 3 that are going to help you kind of deal with completing the trial. All right, stage 9. Here's where we start having so much fun. If you didn't catch that in my voice, I was being just a little bit of facetious here. But we got to land 10 bombs, right? Here, we really need to start, number 1, CCing the opponents, but it is very challenging because every single stage has a Jing Wong in it. Because if you don't really CC them, that Elva is going to cleanse everything. So you need to make sure that that's done. So ideally, you want to single target somebody with a CC, then drop a weaken along with bombs and try to pray to God that they die with one of those. Completing this, and this is going to be the most challenging one, by the end of wave 2 is the most crucial thing here. Jing Wongs need to be absolutely controlled down to, they are priority number 1. Now, I will say a big champion to bring in for this is going to be Carnage with his block active skills. I would not build him as a damage dealer, guys. Build him as a pure support to make sure that you have him fast relentless, lockout. That's it. That's what you really want him to do. You want him to keep everybody just using their A1s. That's it. Okay, so this is probably the most simplest one. Stage 10, halfway through Faction Wars, bring in 3 epic champions. Honestly, anything you bring in is going to be okay. I brought in my Magnar, Dudan the Runic, and Gorlos, and then a really good support in Carnage, and that was it, right? You don't really need a lot of things here. Carnage can come in and pretty much nuke everybody till oblivion, and then your Magnar, depending on how well built they are, should be able to take a hit and dish one back. Gorlos, you just really want him in there for the decreased defense. Stage 11, really easy. If you have Lammasu, you're going to win. You just need to bring in block debuffs, keep that on top of everybody, and don't worry about it. If not, then again, you're going to have to go ahead and make sure that you take down one champion at a time. Carnage comes in pretty strong here, being able to strip and block active skills and passives. We're not working with anything crazy for the opponents. I think the most challenging part is probably Uko because she can steal the buffs. And that's it, right? Other than that, it should be pretty easy for you as long as you can bring in some block debuffs. Again, you also have Umbral Enchantress on a 3-turn, so that gives you plenty of time to take down these ads. All right, let's move on to stage 12, where we have to place 15 plus provoke debuffs. Now here, there's a little bit of a trick that I used. And basically, I let Dudan live because he does bring in a block, a cleanse on the A1, allowing me to put on more provokes. So you can definitely use that strategy. Kill target here, priority is going to be Elva, right? Elva, along with anyone else that is going to put a block debuffs on. Oella might be another one as well too. That you might need to take care of. Other than that, I would let everybody else go through, rotate. Champions that, again, that we can bring in are Pitcore, right? Has it pretty strong. Drexstar, Umbral Enchantress, and Thrashin. Not a lot of choices here, guys, but, you know, it's going to be slow, and painful. Just make sure that you take care of Elva as quickly as possible. All right, back to stage 13 where we got to do that thing again and get some stun sets going. Now, again, you can use Magnar to come in with his A2. That'll give you enough if you build them with accuracy, and make sure that you have an HP burnout. If not, stun sets, try to complete it. Wave 1 and 2. Don't wait for wave 3. Wave 3, if you have 1, maybe 2, that's fine. But you're going to find yourself waiting for just that 1 to proc, and it's just nothing more than a pain in the butt. Now, I will tell you that on wave 3, kill priority does become too Hanorok, especially if you're trying to use the Magnar strategy with the HP burn. If she takes a turn and cleanses either one, if she cleanses the HP burn, you're pretty much SOL. The one last thing I do want to make sure that we understand about stage 13 is there are a lot of block debuff champions in there. Round 2 has a Kaja, Skytouch Shaman, Glacia. So there's a lot of champions there that will keep you from putting that stun on. So putting in that block debuffs is pretty huge. Keeping them controlled with a provoker is also going to be another thing. On wave 1, you do have to deal with the Sangria and the, I believe, Raglan. So just make sure that you keep them CC'd and try to get as many of those stuns out as possible. It's going to be challenging. It's time gated. It's time gated and patience. How much patience do you have? If you have it, you got it. All right, stage 14. It is imperative that you bring a really good support. High HP as much as possible. It is not going to be a joke, guys. Ignores 100% defense on the A1, and it will smack, right? Debuffs are going to come in hot and heavy. True Fears, stuns, Pain Link, provokes. So block debuffs is actually crucial. Carnage, if you have him, he's going to be your main nuker here. He is going to just destroy the boss. Now, there is something to say here that you can use a turn meter reduction effect here with 2 or maybe 3 allures to try to keep him down. That's how we did it back in the day for normal mode. You would just bring in 2 or 3 allures, nukers, high HP or high damage, crit rate, and high accuracy, and just keep the boss CC'd. It is a lot harder said than, or a lot easier said than done. The Duchess here is honestly the MVP. You can use block damage. So if you have a Helicath, it'll work pretty well. Ally protection, unless you're going to bring a really, really strong reviver, I wouldn't worry about it. And then somebody who's going to be able to either steal the block damage or redirect damage, sorry, who is going to block that, because you really do not want to be taking that hit back. All right, so for this particular faction, stage 15 is actually quite challenging, not for the end, but for the middle and the beginning, right? Because we have a Nell at the start, so if you bring a Duchess, you're automatically going to start building up those debuffs, right? Those poisons. She will mess you up. Lammasu here comes in really, really strong, keeping everybody under block debuffs. Although I will say for round 2, she is kind of hurtful for you unless you can shut down the Jingwang with a block active skills. That will help. Block damage for round 1 and round 2 works out pretty well. One to not kind of shy away from is actually Countess Lix, right? So she has block active skills on the A2, decreased speed on the A1, fills the champion serve meter for each time an ally receives a debuff, can be very helpful, and then a weaken on the A1. I wouldn't really, stray too far away from her. She is a pretty solid pick here. What I basically did is I came in with my Duchess, Carnage, Cat, Tyrant Exilmore, and my Kaimar. I mean, it's a very tough stage to beat, and mostly because there's so much going on because of round 1 and round 2. Round 3, as long as you can basically burn the Stone Skin off, you need to basically block active skills and keep everybody down, get that Duchess to put the veil up so she is Mountain King's target. Mountain King is kill priority number 1 on round 3. As for round 2, Jingwang takes it first for kill priority, and then Toshiro. And then as for round 3, it's actually going to be Alil and Nell that are the priority. Whichever one is giving you more difficult, whichever one's giving you more difficulty is the one that you want to take down first, right? Owella and everybody else isn't really as bad, but if Alil comes in and starts nuking you, which he will, because he can hit through Stone Skin, so that's going to be very, very challenging for you. You want to, essentially take one of them down first. All right, so for stage 16, do not let your enemies take any active skill turns. Basically, they can only use A1, and that's it. No A2s, no A3s. Carnage comes in pretty strong. Countess Lix, another one of those, right? We need a CC champion like Umbral Enchantress, which is another really solid one. Anybody that is going to be able to lock them out is going to be absolutely crucial here, right? These are pretty much the callouts. Now, you can try keeping them under provoke, but when you get to round 3, if that Chuhanarak takes a turn, she cleanses everything, and then you're just kind of like, what the hell? You can't let any of your enemies take a turn, right? Using an A3 or an A2. If you do, it's a complete wash. All right, stage 17, again, one of everybody's favorite stage. You cannot land any weak hits. This, for this faction, is absolutely just horrible. Luckily, we have a rare here that can come in, Fellhound, right? We do have ourselves an A3 Blood Twin, which I did use. Now, I want you to stray away from using AoE champions here. Carnage is not going to be somebody useful here. If you do want to bring in Carnage, then your Void Nukers need to take down any magic affinity. If he weak hits, which he will weak hit when he counterattacks, you are going to lose the run. Lammasu is also a really strong one to bring in here because of the block debuffs and the fear. So pretty strong there. Support champions. I can't say this enough, guys. Whatever your support champion is, if it is a Duchess, if it is a Dur the Hunger, Magic Affinity are the worst ones for them. Your Void Nukers need to kill those as the primary target, right? You don't want to leave that up as your last target and then have to have your Duchess go and weak hit. All right, stage 18. Here's where I'm anticipating a 25x Duchess coming up, or a guaranteed Duchess. Don't quote me to it, guys, but you need to defeat 10 plus enemies while your champions are under perfect fail. We have very, very limited. If you did get the Cheshire Cat, definitely going to be okay there. Duchess going to give you perfect fail on the whole team. Infernal Baroness has it, I believe it's on the A3 here, places a perfect veil on the ally for 3 turns. It's very, very underwhelming. It's only a single target one, so you'd have to have her fast, making sure that she goes first. She doesn't really bring anything else. You can use Kandrathon, but again, he is very, very difficult to make work. You have to kill somebody first. You can go right into the A3 first, but hopefully, you know, he doesn't get nuked. After that, I would definitely bring in like a block damage to protect him. That said, it is one of the more difficult ones to do because it is limiting you to the champions itself. Now, there is, I believe, a relic that will grant you a perfect veil or a veil, and that is something you could use on a nuker. But at this stage, you're going to be so hard up for trying to nuke everybody that you're going to try to get everything that you possibly can. Now, I will tell you that this particular stage has a lot of difficult champions. You've got a Null on wave 2, you got a Fromley on wave 1, and then you have the Faction Unity champion on wave 3 that you can't CC. It is absolutely toxic as all hell to take down this stage. You really need to try to complete this before you get to wave 3. If you cannot kill every single target, or at least 80% of the trial done by wave 3, you need to reset and go back and try it again. All right, stage 19 seems pretty simple, pretty easy. Block revive 10 plus times. Honestly, if you have Carnage, it really is. Make sure that your opponents have at least 2 debuffs on them. Go into Carnage's second form here, and then just use, I believe it's his A2. His A3. Attacks all enemies 2 times if the target is killed while under 3 or more debuffs. Sorry, not 2. Place a block revive. So as long as you get like an Umbral Enchantress to go in, places a provoke and a block debuffs, and then get somebody else to do like an HP burn or a decreased defense, you should be pretty solid there. If not, then you're going to be A1ing everything to hell until Peril procs on Mortu. Or if you're lucky enough and having an E3 Blood Twin, then you're going to use him as much as possible. All right, as for stage 20, defeat 4+ enemies before they take a turn. Honestly, your best shot here is using Lammasu to keep the turn meter of whoever is going to be your nuker as high as possible. Now, here's one thing that you need to know here. It is the speed becomes way, way higher. Minimum speed that you need to aim for is 300 on a nuker, and that is mostly because Lazorius on round 1 is at 319 speed, so Lammasu needs to be way, way faster. Turn meter depletion is a thing here, right? So Allure can come in and help. Not really the best thing, right? But definitely can come in and help. Here, be fast, be quick, decrease defense, get this down round 1, round 2, and then that's it. Round 3, as long as you can sustain yourself and taking down the Faction Unity champion along with Supreme Gaelic, you're going to be okay. All right, and last but not least, we got stage 21. Now here, basic tank and spank, one of the easier bosses. We have Provoke, True Fears, block debuffs, taunt, right? And then he places a freeze, so block debuffs comes in crucial here. Making sure that we can put a block debuffs on the boss is also very good. Decrease attack. Carnage just demolishes the boss. Try to bring in single target nukers. Don't bring down AoEs. Single target nukers just work better because they're all going to focus the boss, not the ads. So with that in mind, it's not a horrendous boss to go up against. If you do want to go down the strategy of, bringing in 3 allures to keep the turn meter reduced as much as possible, you can. It is going to be a little more challenging as the turn meter reduction is reduced by 50%, but it can be done. That said, I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Where are you currently in hard mode Faction Wars? Have you completed it? Are you still having difficulty with the Demonspawn faction? If you enjoyed the content, click that like button, subscribe to the channel. It does help me. It lets me know that videos like this are valuable. And if you have some time, as always, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other. Catch you guys next time. Join us every Sunday, 2 p.m. EST for the Knights of Teleria podcast, where we dive into the world of Raid Shadow Legends, discussing everything from free-to-play strategies to pay-to-win insight, and covering the journey from early to mid-game. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned player, we have something for everyone. Don't miss out on the Knights of Teleria podcast, the only podcast for Raid Shadow Legends.